Imagine a place where the boundaries between the possible and the impossible vanish. A world where voices from nowhere invade your mind, telepathic messages in unknown languages echo without explanation. Now, picture being torn from your everyday reality and transported to an entirely different universe, all without ever leaving the comfort of your bedroom. This is the story of Patricia Lyons, a young woman whose inexplicable disappearance and even more enigmatic return remain one of the most intriguing cases ever reported in the field of ufology. Patricia lived in Jackson, Wyoming, a place that's more than just a tourist town. It's a region where the silence of the mountains reigns and the biting cold seems to freeze time itself. During winter, the lights of ski resorts brighten the night, but in the off-season, the town slipped into an almost magical stillness. With just over 10,000 residents outside the winter rush, days are predictable and life moves at a calm pace. This contrast between natural beauty and isolation may have contributed to the mysterious nature of Patricia's case. Picture a town so small that everyone knows each other, where a disappearance sends shockwaves that linger for years. To those who knew her, Patricia was just an ordinary teenager, studious, dedicated to her schoolwork, and a dreamer like any young person her age. But something was changing within her, something no one could explain. Patricia was part of this peaceful community, and her disappearance was like a stone thrown into still waters. People began speculating about possible explanations, from running away from home to violent crimes. But as hours turned into days, it became increasingly clear that this case was unlike any other. On that fateful night of May 21st, 2007, Patricia went to bed early, just as she did every night before an important exam. Her parents remembered seeing her enter her room dressed in her usual pajamas, ready to rest. But at dawn, they discovered something incomprehensible. Patricia was gone. All the doors were locked from the inside. The keys were exactly where they'd been left the night before, and no window had been forced open. It was as if Patricia had simply evaporated inside her own room. The entire town rallied. Families, friends, and even strangers joined the search. Tracking dogs scoured forests, rivers, and fields. Helicopters flew over the area, and announcements were broadcast on local radio. But no matter how hard they looked, there was no sign of her. It was as if the earth had swallowed her whole. The police thoroughly investigated the house, but found no evidence of violence or struggle. Nothing was out of place. Only a silent void hung over that room. Investigators began questioning everything. With no external evidence, they started to suspect that Patricia's own parents might be involved in her disappearance. But after days of meticulous analysis of the house, that theory was ruled out. There was no blood, no signs of a break-in, no indication that anything sinister had happened there. The mystery remained untouched. Meanwhile, 4 days after her disappearance, a new clue emerged. Patricia's best friend, identified only as Bella, revealed something disturbing. In the months leading up to her disappearance, Patricia had mentioned strange phenomena. She told Bella she had been hearing telepathic voices in a language she couldn't understand. These messages, which seemed to emanate directly from her mind, were accompanied by excruciating headaches and episodes of nosebleeds. At first, investigators dismissed this account, But her parents confirmed that Patricia had indeed experienced these symptoms. They took her to the doctor, but medical tests showed nothing unusual. The doctor said she was healthy, and her symptoms were chalked up to school-related stress. On the 6th day after her disappearance, something even stranger happened. Patricia's parents received a text message from an unknown number. The words were unmistakable. "I'm in Kirkland Lake, Ontario." Patricia was alive, but the question echoing in everyone's minds was, how? Kirkland Lake is about 18 miles from Jackson. There were no records of Patricia crossing borders, taking a bus, or boarding a plane. She appeared suddenly, still wearing the same pajamas she'd gone to bed in, with no money, no ID, and no explanation of how she got there. Confused and visibly shaken, she was taken to a hospital. It was only when she reunited with her parents back in the United States that she began to reveal what had happened. According to Patricia, it all started 2 months earlier, when she began hearing voices in her head. These weren't ordinary hallucinations, but telepathic messages in a language she couldn't comprehend. As the voices grew more frequent, they brought with them intense headaches and nosebleeds. Her parents took her to the doctor, but tests showed nothing abnormal. These weren't just random sounds. She described being able to distinguish at least 3 different voices, each with a unique tone and cadence. It felt as though the voices were trying to teach her something, but the language barrier prevented any understanding. Curiously, Patricia noted that the voices seemed clearer at night, as if they took advantage of the silence to manifest. The voices weren't constant. They came at irregular intervals, sometimes days apart, other times in rapid succession. Patricia admitted that at first, she thought she was imagining things, but as the episodes became more frequent, she began to realize something bigger was happening. Then, on that night, one of those voices, which had previously seemed to come from within her, came from the ceiling of her room. When Patricia opened her eyes, she realized she was no longer in her bed. She was floating, being pulled by an invisible force through the wall. On the other side, she found herself in a long corridor filled with niches that looked like portals to other worlds. In some, she saw humans, and in others, creatures that defied description. As she floated, Patricia felt a sense of weightlessness, as if her body had lost all gravity. She noticed that although she was being moved against her will, she felt no fear. It was as if the invisible force reassured her, ensuring she was in no danger. Patricia described beings resembling octopuses and squids, with devices attached to their heads like breathing masks. When these beings saw her, they appeared visibly startled, their skin changing from green to bright red before they fled. She was guided by the invisible force to a room where hundreds of white cubes, resembling sugar cubes, floated in the air. Though curious, she didn't dare touch them. The climax of her experience came when a giant hologram displaying hundreds of galaxies appeared before her. The beings attempted to communicate, asking where she was from. Despite her limited knowledge of astronomy, Patricia managed to identify the Milky Way and point to Earth. After that, the beings engaged in a heated discussion while she, exhausted, fell asleep on the floor. When she woke, she was inside a transparent capsule, observing the hologram again. This time, she noticed something unsettling. The Milky Way was painted black. while other galaxies glowed in shades of blue and green. To Patricia, it seemed to suggest that humanity was deemed unfit to communicate or associate with these beings. Perhaps it was our aggressive behavior or our level of technological development. After a series of tests and examinations, Patricia was returned to Earth, mysteriously appearing near a lake in Canada. Upon her return, she didn't feel fear but fascination. She repeatedly told her parents she wanted to go back to the place of the octopus people. But the mystery doesn't end there. 4 years later, in 2011, Patricia disappeared again, this time for good. Searches resumed, but this time there was no return. To this day, her parents hold on to the hope that she's okay wherever she is. According to reports, Patricia's parents gave interviews years later, insisting they still believe she's alive. In an emotional statement in 2018, her father said, "I know my daughter is okay. Wherever she is, she must be happy. I just hope that one day she can tell us more about what happened." The case of Patricia Lyons raises profound questions about the nature of human consciousness and our relationship with the cosmos. Are there parallel dimensions coexisting with ours? Are we being observed by advanced civilizations that view Earth and its inhabitants as mere experiments? Or was Patricia chosen for a greater mission, something our limited understanding still can't grasp? What did you think of this fascinating story? Let us know in the comments. Were you already familiar with the case? Is there any detail we missed? Share your thoughts with us.